Hello everyone, this is Lady May Valenzuela and I will be discussing about drivers of change under the topic of Unit 6, Imperative of Social Development, C, the Local Government Support Program. Drivers of Change is an approach developed by DFID or Department of International Development which aims to identify the opportunities, incentives, and blockages to proper change at the country level. By analyzing the agents, structural features, and institutions that shape the political economy, the drivers of change approach provides a nuanced understanding of how change occurs and how it relates to poverty reduction. This knowledge is then used to enhance the effectiveness of donor programs and strategies. Understanding the drivers of change. The concept of drivers of change, in which it is a structural or institutional factor that is likely to drive change in the medium term, reflect the underlying interests and incentives that affect the environment for reform. Thus, the drivers of change approach is a way of understanding the political economy of poverty reduction in developing countries. It focuses on the relationships between agents, structural features, and institutions, and how they shape the dynamics of change. Informing programming. The purpose of the Drivers of Change tool is to enhance Department of International Development and other donors' capacity to understand how change occurs and the relationship between change and poverty reduction. This understanding is then used to improve the effectiveness of donor programs. Here, I will demonstrate how to carry out drivers of change studies using research methods, outputs, and dissemination, along with its key elements. Conducting research methods. Since the implementation of the drivers of change method, various countries' offices have drivers of change investigations are frequently conducted with the assistance of independent consultants. The drivers of change studies often involve a combination of interviews, literature reviews, workshops, and consultations. The scope and resources used can vary across different studies depending on the time and budget constraints. Outputs and dissemination. The outputs of a Drivers of Change study should include a concise executive summary, a section challenging conventional assumptions, and details on the stakeholders interviewed. However, dissemination strategies should be tailored to reach different audiences, including through translations and time releases. Along with its key elements, the drivers of change studies typically cover basic country analysis, medium term dynamics of change, the role of external forces, the link between change and poverty reduction, operational implications, and how Department of International Development own organization and incentives affect the process. Assembling the drivers of change team. Who to involve the Department of International Development. It is important that the head of office, program staff, and a cross section of the country team should be involved at key stages of the drivers of change process. This helps ensure buy in and the retention of country knowledge. External expertise. This study team should include an experienced leader, members with strong country knowledge, and a diverse range of disciplinary backgrounds. And engaging with other government departments and like minded donors is also important. Mitigating risk. Careful consideration should be given to a potential risk faced by locally recruited team members, especially in fragile states. A reference panel can also help validate findings and navigate political sensitivities. The following are the benefits that have been identified, along with their limitations and challenges. Insights for programming. The drivers of change studies can inform the planning process, challenge assumptions, and promote a wider perspective on change. They can also contribute to deeper thinking on proper change and the analysis and mitigation of risk. And positive challenges internally for Department of International Development. The drivers of change approach can facilitate the development of a political economy perspective, enable cross disciplinary collaboration, build consensus, enhance institutional memory, and strengthen harmonization with other donors. Influencing partners is under the international benefits for Department of International Development, which the drivers of change studies can also influence party country governments and promote closer working relationships with other government departments such as the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Next is its limitations and challenges. While the drivers of change approach has yielded valuable insights, it has also faced limitations in terms of being more descriptive than prescriptive, neglecting the role of external agents and not being well embedded in country programming processes. Department of International Development Politics of Development Framework. Leftwich, who established the Politics of Development framework, was partially responding to the limitations found in the drivers of change methodology. The limitations were the drivers of change approach has been criticized for not consistently addressing the meanings, forms, and dynamics of politics and for focusing more on specific agents of change rather than structural features and political dynamics. In response, the Politics of Development framework was developed to conceptualize the political system as a set of linked formal and informal political processes that shape the use, production, and distribution of resources in a society. A more in depth study, the Politics of Development framework aims to go further in analyzing the actors, connections, and processes that make up a political system in order to identify the dynamic elements that drive politics whether successfully or not. Linking approaches. There are important commonalities between the drivers of change and power analysis approaches, as they both focus on the relationship between political factors, economic conditions, and institutions. While both approaches direct researchers to look at actors, institutions, and structures that influence poverty and development policies, they employ different analytical lenses. The SIDAS approach tends to focus on the links between human rights, democracy, and poverty reduction, while Department of International Development Drivers of Change focuses on structural and institutional factors. And by combining the insights from these different approaches, the researchers and policymakers can gain a more comprehensive understanding of a complex political economy dynamics that shape development outcomes. Navigating the challenges. Limitations of drivers of change studies. It is more descriptive than prescriptive. It lack of suggestions on levers of change. Levers of change can be understood as an arena of work that has the potential to deliver ranging positive change beyond its immediate focus. It focuses on large scale trends rather than medium term factors. Drivers of change studies limited participatory processes. It neglect of the role of external agents. Managing challenges. um, drivers of change require staff training to draw operational implications. It needs for further guidance tools and integration with other planning processes. It requires strong cooperation, buy-in, and changes to external incentives and limited availability of skilled consultants, programming, and challenges of drivers of change. Managing conflicting again agendas within Department of International Development, balancing longer-term political processes with short-term demands, setting realistic time frames and areas of engagement, working with non-traditional partners and channels, and translating high-level analysis into operational strategies. That's all, and thank you.